Hello, everyone, and this is my review for WWE NXT Takeover London. And I'll go off and say right off the bat here, they gave time to every single match. They only had 5 matches on the show for the entire thing, but they gave ample time to each one to try to build the match as much as possible. And I would say, actually, I would even say most of these matches fully on delivered. I enjoyed the matches, but the stories that they were telling throughout the entire time were also relatively good to go along with it. I like the aspects at the beginning with Emma and Asuka, with obviously Asuka trying to go for strikes and everything like that. I like the aspect they also have Asuka in kind of a vulnerable position against Emma in the terms that she had control over the match and everything. But the main thing that I liked was that for the most part throughout the night, how much they teased that Emma was going to get the victory in a cheap fashion, and one of those really bad cheap endings of like by distraction or something like that, only to have Asuka escape it in some way and put Emma in a very vulnerable position leading up to the end, where it looks like she's going to try to hit her with like a loaded up belt, and then gets roundhouse kicked in the end to lose the match. I thought they did a really good job here, and obviously it seems like where they're going with Asuka next is her versus Nia Jax, with that promo that they had right before Nia Jax had her match with Bayley. And I'll talk about that match in a little bit here as well. But we obviously have a kind of where they're going to go next with Asuka and Nia Jax as well. So like I said, I'll talk about that here in a moment. Up next was Colin Cassidy, Big Cass, and Enzo Amore going up against Dash and Dawson. This was a really, really good tag team match. And, it just worked in the terms of how they built it up kind of psychology-wise with them. Obviously, they built it up with the aspect of Enzo, like you had Enzo and Cass kind of in control at the beginning, and then leading into Enzo, typical type of tag team tactics where the smaller guy gets beaten up for a long period of time. But the thing that I like about Dash and Dawson is that they're that kind of group that will work over a particular body part throughout the entire time and continue to work and work and work and work and work and work it throughout the entire match. Doesn't even feel like it's long and drawn out in any way. It just makes you almost feel for the face in this case, like just almost makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable that they're getting beaten up in this way. The only problem that I might have had with the match, and maybe it was just because I thought they were going to finally pull the trigger with Enzo and Cass here, was them actually losing the match. But the spot that they did to make them lose was very well justified. And if you did not end that match with that, then there's something wrong in some way, shape, or form. And they did at least do a good job of eliminating Cass before that happened as well. But overall, the match itself is very enjoyable. I like the way that Dash and Dawson work in the ring. I've always liked how Enzo and Big Cass have always been as well. I thought they were going to pull the trigger on this one and put the titles on them finally, but it does not look. They did not do that. Maybe this is meaning they're coming up to the main roster. I don't know where they're going to go with Enzo and Cass, and we'll obviously see where they're going to go with the tag team title situation here in the very near future. So again, we'll see where they go with everything. Overall, still a really good match to watch. Very enjoyable. Up next was Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin. And this was probably Baron Corbin's longest match that I've ever seen. And he's showing that he's much better in the ring than what most people think. They did play off of the typical who's kind of the stronger, meaner, tougher, bigger man in this case. But the way they set up the match still came off really, really well. I liked I did like how Apollo Crews was still playing off of the aggression that he was feeling for towards Baron Corbin for him costing him the title weeks back. They did play off of that a bit. Same in Cass and Enzo's match as well. They did play off of that aggression a bit, especially in their promo beforehand. But in this match, they definitely played it off in the match itself, and it came off really well. I like the ending where basically he's showing he can hit. Baron Corbin can kind of pull that end of days move out of almost any position. And that's a good thing, actually, because you don't know when the end of the match can come. And the great thing about most of NXT's matches is that the first time someone hits a finisher, match is over. And that's a concept that you don't see all that often in bigger matches at all anymore. Is that the first time the finishers hit, it's just over with. There's so many times it's like, oh, big match, you got to kick out the finisher 2 or 3 times and everything like that. Not in these cases. Here, you hit the finisher once, and then it's kind of over with. And we'll obviously, I think this kind of ends that feud. So we'll see where they go with Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin here in the very near future. I think I know where they're going with Baron Corbin, but I'm not 100% certain on that yet. We'll just see where they go with everything. The next match was Bayley versus Nia Jax. And, man, this, in the terms of match quality, I would say this is not that good of a match. But the storyline they told in here, mostly with Bayley's side, and obviously showing off the dominance with Nia Jax as well. But the story of determination behind Bayley was extremely well told here. They did a really, really phenomenal job getting over how determined Bayley was to win the match, and not only win the match cleanly, and even though she was up against a far bigger, far stronger opponent, and like you got that throughout the entire time. And then, of course, ending it up with Bayley making Nia Jax eventually tap out after having to lock in a guillotine 3 separate times after getting swatted away 2 other times. Just great touches to what they were doing. It's like you got the aspect that Nia Jax was just punishing Bayley throughout the entire time, doing multiple of the moves to try to make her stay down, but she wouldn't stay down. Great job with telling the story in this match. Probably not the best match quality we've seen from Bayley's matches, but they told the story. They went through everything, and each part that they put in there kind of like it made you feel that determination that Bayley has to keep the title, but also still showing the dominance that Nia Jax has. And that's the main aspect of this. I say this is a very, very good match. Very well told story. Very well done. I like this match a lot. And this leads to the main event of the night. Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor with the NXT title on the line. And, you know, that entrance from Finn, and playing off of history as well. It's kind of hard to actually, knowing off of history with Jack the Ripper and everything, and say, commending something like that. But this entrance was really well done. I like the video package beforehand in there. They did, and the body paint and everything to the little set piece for Finn Balor as well with the hat and the jacket was really, really well done. Gets that whole aspect of a different type of Finn Balor is coming out tonight, and and they did play that off throughout the entire time. I liked it, and I liked it in the video package with how Samoa Joe came off. He was one of those guys like, you know what? I know what I did was a horrible thing, but I felt like I had to do it. A type moment. I liked how they present Samoa Joe. It's like, he knows he's doing something that is wrong. He even admits it's wrong. but he's going to do it to get where he needs to go. So I like how they presented him as a heel and a monster in every sense here. The match that the two had was a really, really good match. And oddly enough, these were the first times that you saw, outside of Enzo getting thrown out of the ring, this is the first time you saw any like dives throughout the entire night to the outside of the ring. So again, usually that had been one knock on NXT, is like you had so many people doing dives outside the ring. You didn't really see that much here on this night, but with the exception of this match where both guys ended up doing it. So yeah, I was kind of glad they saved that for that portion of the night as well. But just the whole aspect throughout the match and they played it off, especially towards the end of the match, with the fact that Joe had made Finn Balor pass out twice to the Coquina Clutch, and and then coming up with different ways of Finn Balor to get out of those that particular finisher by just having running him into the turnbuckles, but also the whole aspect of it looks like Joe's about to get him down and get him into the down on the ground and like where he couldn't get out, but then Balor actually rolls through it and gets out of there. I thought that was a nice nice counter that they've not really shown with getting out of that particular move at any given time. So again, really good job with how they set up getting in and out of the finishers. And again, like I said, these guys have enough in their moveset to work a 20-25 minute match. And then the first time the finisher gets hit, it's over with. You don't have to hit it again. So they had enough in their moveset to pull that off and still tell a relatively good story throughout the entire match as well. Again, I really enjoyed this main event match. I thought it came off really well. As an event overall, like I said, they gave time to every single match. Let them try to get something over in the terms of a storyline. And for the most part, they really did. The only match that kind of came off a little weird in the end, because you thought they were finally pulling the trigger and putting the titles on Colin Cassidy and Enzo Amore with the tag team title match. Other than that, I mean, the event it came off really well the entire night. Obviously, the crowd was crazy throughout the entire night as well, different chants and everything like that. And I'll give it to them on this one. They had creative chants tonight, and they didn't just go out there saying that we are awesome. And they kept the chants pretty much to the match itself. So I'll give that one to the crowd on this one as well. So overall, NXT Takeover London, I thought was a really, really good show. And that's what's pretty much happened for every single NXT Takeover show. I've enjoyed them. I've still enjoyed NXT. It doesn't feel like it's wearing out its welcome in any way. The storylines that they make going into them have come off really well. They make sense. Honestly, you get like when somebody does something really bad to someone else in the terms of like, oh, you screwed me out of the title. I'm angry now. I'm not just smiley all the time. I'm an actual angry person, like with Apollo Crews, or how Enzo and Cass were reacting, especially in their lead up to the match with Dash and Dawson, and in their promo tonight as well. That they were showing how angry they were throughout the entire time, and it just came off really well. I like how they set up their stories, and then they continue. It has a consistency, and that's what it needs to be. Is that these matches are not just good visually in the ring, but the stories that they're telling in the matches are consistent to what's been going on. So that's what you usually get from NXT. And yeah, that's my review for WWE NXT London, and I thank you guys for watching.